Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Inside Scoop. This is an LP Magazine podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Hoover, and I'm here today with my friend Lisa LaBruno. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. So, Lisa and I were just chatting beforehand about all the things that are going on in our lives, and we're both super freaking busy. I know. And nothing has slowed down for you, ma'am, even in your new role, which we'll talk about what you've been doing and the Communities Foundation, which I'm really excited to hear about. Before we jump into that, Lisa, I know you're a professional woman, you got a lot happening. What do you do for fun? What's your work-life balance like?
Oh, that whole work-life balance thing, huh? I'm 30 something years into a career and I still haven't figured out the work-life balance or if it's even achievable. What do I like to do for fun? So I am very much a family oriented person. Steph, we've had lots of time together and conversation. My daughter is my joy, and love to spend time with her. She's in college now, so I don't get to spend as much time with her as I'd like, but all of our time is quality time, family. I've got five siblings, lots of nieces and nephews. Whenever I can grab some time with them, it just brings a lot of joy to my life, my friends. I'm much more a one-on-one friend person. I'm not a big
Yeah.
group friend thing. I appreciate the relationship piece of
I hear
friendships.
you.
So I love to go out to dinner with a good friend. Aside from that, I like to work out, um, lots of outdoor exercise, clear my head, uh, watch basketball, play basketball, anything with a basketball, I'm
You're
very
all in.
happy to do. So I try to introduce just, the people and sports is really my thing.
Yeah, this is why you and I get along so well. We have a lot in common for sure. What is the secret to getting your daughter to stay in touch with you? I mean, my daughter is only 45 minutes away, and I'm like, hey.
So I've got the opposite problem where
Ah,
she calls me 10 times a day and like has no respect for the fact that I work full time, which I rather have that
yeah.
problem, right? Yeah, so look, she's an only child.
Okay.
I'm told only children are different. She's
They're
got no
special.
problems staying in touch. We keep
Nice.
it light, keep it funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's all good.
Nice. Yeah, I found that exchanging memes is like the main form of contact with my kids.
My daughter told me the other day that she has this thing with one of her best friends at school where she shares texts that I send her or videos that I send her.
Oh, that's always
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So apparently the other day when I texted her in the morning, I texted her something different than what I usually text her every morning.
Hmm.
And so it was sus to her, suspect.
Yes, Seth.
So she asked me for proof of life.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yes, so I had to film a video that said it's February 3rd. I'm sitting here in the house, whatever.
Yeah.
And she shared that with her friend. And I was like, I didn't realize that me in my morning garb is being shared broadly with kids at Clemson University, but
Wow.
got to keep
Yeah,
it light, I
no,
guess.
not a fan. Not a fan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe she'll publish a book or something about it someday. She'll like gather all of your messages and put them all together.
As
That'd
long
be
as she keeps the photos out, I'm good with that.
fun. Very funny. I love it. So I know that you have like a ton going on. You changed your role, and then we just talked about this 11 months ago. You changed your role. And what I would love to do, Lisa, is talk with you about what your role is, this new foundation. When is the foundation started at RILA?
About a year ago,
Okay.
we launched the foundation. We were doing a lot of the work already that now has been moved to the foundation. So it's a 501(c)(3), the
Okay.
RILA Communities Foundation. And right now, the work is retail crime. The hope and the vision is that we expand it to other areas. Really, Steph, what we're hoping to do with the RCF is build partnerships with local and public sector stakeholders to like build equity, right, at a
Okay.
local level, and at the same time work with those folks to make communities safer, which is something I love. I love the whole idea of keeping people safe and
Mhm.
helping communities thrive, and leveraging this amazing industry that we have to accomplish that.
Yeah. Okay, so walk me through, are you going out and taking meetings with different communities, or is it you're partnering with retailers to then work within the community?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit of both. So I'll share a little bit about the work, and I think maybe that will help illustrate
Yeah.
how we're engaging with the public sector. So you're probably familiar with the Vibrant Communities Initiative. That's what we launched about 2 years ago in King County, Washington, and Yolo County, California,
Hmm.
where we brought together retailers, prosecutors, law enforcement agencies to focus on the most prolific offenders in those communities and trying to find and evaluate approaches for dealing with prolific theft, right?
Hmm.
And the initiative was so successful in terms of bringing the stakeholders together, leveraging data to understand the whole picture of a prolific offender's criminal activity, and really holding ourselves, so retailers holding ourselves accountable for understanding and collaborating with one another,
Hmm.
to identify offenders we have in common, and then holding law enforcement and prosecutors accountable for holding offenders accountable, right?
Right.
And so when we realized everything we learned in King County and Yolo, we said we want to bring this to two new communities and build it, expand on it. And so we brought it to Kansas City Metro and Manhattan. And this is all before the RCF was
Right.
established. Um, we're still in Kansas City Metro and Manhattan, two very different, equally complex
Okay.
environments. KC Metro is comprised of 5 counties. So, what that means is 5 district attorneys' offices across 2 states and their law enforcement partners. So, it's complex just from a numbers perspective and a geography perspective.
Right.
Manhattan is Manhattan. So, that in
Yeah.
and of itself is a complex environment. And so, we were leading those two initiatives. We had the national partnership with the National District Attorneys Association and all of the work we were doing there, the National Store Walk campaign, the
Hmm.
annual retail crime workshop, the bi-monthly webinars. Like we're doing a ton of work with NDAA. We launched the partnership with the IACP, right? Trying to replicate with law enforcement what we're doing with prosecutors. And
Hmm.
then we were approached by a couple of RILA members, and some other stakeholders asking us to take over and build upon a gift card coalition that had been formed by Homeland Security Investigations in conjunction with their Operation Red Hook, as well as some of our RILA member companies. And they came to us and said, can you build out this coalition? And at that point, we said, okay, we've got all this retail crime work. Let's establish a 501(c)(3) so that we can put it all under that umbrella. This work requires funding, so
Hmm.
it better positions us to get grants, and get other sources of funding to help propel all of these projects forward. So
Okay.
it really was that some of the work came first. We established the RILA Communities Foundation, brought all the work under the 501(c)(3), and now we formed a board. We're building out the effort within the retail crime space, But now that we've got 11 months under our belt, we're starting to give consideration to, okay, what are some of the other issues beyond retail crime that can help us engage with mayors, governors,
Mm-hmm.
AGs, um, local prosecutors, local law enforcement, uh, community-based organizations that align well with retail, that will, like I said, it's kind of, full circle, keep stores operating, keep people safe, and help communities thrive. Does that make sense?
It does. It seems like a Herculean effort. Like I'm like, oh my gosh. And so is the idea to then replicate this in communities then? Okay.
Yeah,
So
so what we did, Steph, is so VCI, right? The King County, YOLO, KC Metro Manhattan, it's a very labor
I'm
intensive
sure.
initiative, right?
Yeah.
So we hold weekly calls in each jurisdiction, and there's just a lot of work that's going on. And so we were approached by a couple of other prosecutors who asked if their jurisdiction could be part of a VCI pilot. So, like, no better compliment, right, than that, right?
Mhm.
And we said we just don't have the bandwidth to do that. And so what we came up with is VCI Lite. So VCI Lite is a version of VCI that sort of follows the same framework, but doesn't require all of the resources that VCI does.
Mhm.
And so we launched VCI Lite in Atlantic City, New Jersey, a couple of months ago.
Okay.
We're planning to launch VCI Lite here in about another month in another jurisdiction. And we're hoping that the learnings from VCI, the learnings from VCI Lite, we can bring that all together into a air quote playbook that
Okay.
we can share in communities across the country, leveraging our partnerships with the NDAA, the IACP. Like, you can't do this work without prosecutors and law enforcement, as well as some other stakeholders, right?
Right.
Given the partnerships we have with the two biggest associations that have prosecutors and law enforcement among their members, we think we've got the right sort of ecosystem in place to really make things happen at a local level nationally, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
So it's not so much boots on the ground from RILA and the foundation. It's more you're the conduit. You're making the connections happen. Is that, am I
Yeah,
reading it correctly?
we're the facilitator,
Got
right?
it.
We're the convener, but we also are the neutral third party who can very comfortably hold stakeholders accountable,
Okay.
right? Example, and total hypothetical, right? I'll just use law enforcement as an example. Let's just say we've got a couple of fence locations that we're investigating as part of BCI.
Hmm.
And there's frustration on the part of the retailers that law enforcement is not working fast enough, right? Because law
Hmm.
enforcement is so strapped with their resources. Individual retailers don't want to go to the law enforcement agency and say, guys, what gives, right?
Right.
But the RCF, like, we're a neutral third party. We're just here to make everybody successful, right? To make communities safer. We're not looking to, throw anybody under the rug, but we can go to law enforcement and say, guys, like, what gives?
What's the hang
And if
up?
they want
Yep.
to get mad at us, they can get mad at us. That's okay, right? So we're sort of we're we're we hold folks accountable. We make the connections.
Hmm.
We leverage our relationships with key vendors to bring data forward to help make these conversations more impactful and efficient.
Okay. So how do you, especially for the longer term areas where like YOLO and KC, how are you measuring success?
Great question. Really great question. So take King County, for example. right? Like we can't be in these jurisdictions in perpetuity. We just don't,
Mhm.
we don't have the resources to do that, number one. But number two, it makes more sense for these kinds of initiatives to be managed at a local level because it's the local folks who really understand the nuances of the environment, right? And
Mhm.
so when was it? Probably June of, sometimes I lose track stuff. So like June of 2025, I could be a year off. That's my
Okay.
recollection. Um, we transitioned VCI King County over to the Washington State Retail Association and the Washington Attorneys General ORC Task Force for
Mhm.
them to sort of co-lead it, expand it beyond King County throughout the state. And ironically, we're having this conversation today. I read an article the other day about how the King County Prosecutor's Office has continued to collaborate very effectively with retailers and law enforcement on retail crime and how prosecutions have increased over the course of the last year, right? And so I say, well, wow, that is at least in part a validation
Mhm.
of VCI, right? So it's sort of anecdotal right now because in King County, for example, like we were hyper focused on the prolific thieves. You're talking folks who, are in the store 30, 40, 50 times, right? And they need to be deterred, most of them through punishment, right?
Mhm.
I, as a former prosecutor, also believe wholeheartedly in rehabilitation of offenders who would benefit from that, right? But with King County, just given the environment there, it was very focused on bringing all the offenses together and figuring out the best prosecution approach, right? Um,
Mhm.
in order to measure success, like prosecutions take a long time
Years. Yeah.
to come to fruition, right?
Mhm.
So we went into this thing all gung ho. We're gonna measure, evaluate it by the number of prosecutions. That just is not realistic. A lot of the evaluation is more anecdotal, but it's also credible in that we've got an academic on board who's
Mhm.
been evaluating everything we do from day one. So Professor Hibden is our academic on VCI. And so she's wrapping up her evaluation of YOLO and King,
Okay.
and that will be published. She's evaluating KC Metro and Manhattan. We're still in it. We've got a researcher involved in VCI Light Atlantic City, and we will have a different researcher involved in our other VCI Light jurisdictions. So everything we do
Yeah.
is evaluated by a respected academic who collects data, who examines the data, and soon here we'll be publishing data.
Nice. Yep. And she's a Saluki, so that's all good.
Wait, what's that?
So she went to SIU. That's my alma mater.
What's a slooky?
Saluki is it's like a really skinny Egyptian hunting dog.
Oh, is that the mascot?
Yeah, it's really weird.
That is really weird.
Yeah, it's a little strange. I don't know. So, as you're talking there, I'm thinking about again this concept. It's almost like you've got training wheels on these communities and showing them like here's what this should look like, and you're kind of guiding them. And at some point, you take the training wheels off when you step back. Am I hearing that right? Is that kind of the
Yeah,
concept?
yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a great analogy. The hope is always that the local folks are managing it going forward. What's been so interesting, particularly in like KC Metro, right? Like going into King County, we knew that there was a significant retail crime problem. Going into Manhattan, we knew that as well. There was some reluctance going into KC Metro from all the stakeholders. Like,
Really?
from the retailer perspective, it's not a high shrink environment. The prosecutors were like, retail theft, shoplifting,
Yeah.
okay, we'll do it, right? Um, you ask how you measure success, and me saying a lot of it is anecdotal. One of the major retailers involved in VCI, Kansas City Metro, recently hired a market investigator due in that geography, due solely to what they learned from VCI, right?
Wow.
Recognizing that there was a much bigger problem than they knew going in. The prosecutors have said the same thing. I mean, it continues to fascinate me. And KC Metro is the only pilot location that has given insight to multi-jurisdictional, a multi-jurisdictional environment.
Hmm.
We all know that these prolific thieves, they traverse county lines, right? They
Right.
traverse state lines. And the extent to which the prosecutors very early on were unaware that they were dealing with the same offenders within their individual offices, it's fascinating, right? And now we see the collaboration is so much better today than it was when we started this a year ago.
Mhm.
The hope then is that the prosecutors will continue to collaborate as we move forward.
Yeah. I'm really shocked to hear you say that the retailers didn't know that they had a problem. I mean, usually they kind of like they're the canary in the coal mine, right? They know when there's
Yeah, yeah. You would think what's interesting about KC Metro in particular, um, is the volume of fencing that occurs
wow, okay.
in KC Metro, which was not something we anticipated going in. And that's one of the beauties of VCI. Like we as a team have got to be agile, and
Mhm.
we go in with a mindset, but if it's not taking us, like, this framework is not reacting to the real environment in which we're operating, we've got to pivot. And
Mhm.
so we went into KC Metro knowing very little about fencing. And now we are very much focused on the resale of stolen goods. So
Is
I
there
think that
something
came as a surprise.
is there something unusual about where they're fencing? Is it like pawn shops? Is it, flea markets? Where are they fencing at in that
Yes,
area? Yes, all of the
yes,
above. Okay. Yeah.
yes.
Interesting. So do you guys get that granular? Like, so first of all, I can't picture you on every single one of these weekly calls, or are you doing that? Oh my God. Okay, that's a lot, Lisa.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, because the fencing uh, effort has proven so valuable, we established a separate fencing effort within Manhattan and KC Metro, so
Hmm.
that in addition to those weekly calls in both jurisdictions, we have bi-weekly fencing calls with
Wow.
just in KC Metro, it's just the retailers. In Manhattan, it's retailers and the district attorney's office. So we're at actually, identifying concrete approaches, very different across the two environments,
Hmm.
to address what we perceive to be a significant fencing problem in the pilot communities as well as the adjoining areas.
This may be a hot button question, and you can defer if you want, but is there a rule for the orcas, like the regional orcas here?
Yeah, look,
Okay.
I definitely don't want to defer that or deflect that question. It's a really good question. And in King County, the local Orca played a significant role in the transition to the Retail Association and the AG's office.
Oh,
And
that's great.
so we
Great.
met with the local Orca. They were on board to take a lead role in that transition.
Hmm.
Um, in our VCI Light uh, 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 environment that we're going to be going into soon. We're talking to the local orca. It's been difficult because the orcas are so different depending on where you go.
Hmm.
It's been difficult to envision a framework around how the orcas can fit in here. Look, there are some orcas who will hear, what VCI is all about, and they'll say, "Well, that's what we're doing." And we say,
Yeah.
"Well, no, no, it's not. It's different. It's complementary,
Hmm.
right?" But we haven't, because we don't want to do duplicative work.
Right.
We haven't quite figured out, like there's a there with the
Hmm.
orcas. We just haven't pinpointed exactly what it is, but the orcas have got to be part of this playbook that I reference going forward because we continue to think that will play a critical role in helping us replicate VCI in communities across the country. So it's a great
Yeah.
question, very insightful.
Well, thank you.
You're
I,
welcome.
I think everything you're talking about too, it really comes down to having the right people. And whether it's an orca or a foundation or whatever it is, like if you don't have a person there who's really motivated and driving, the effort, it will kind of fall apart. Um, and if there's turnover, those kinds of things. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I think it's fascinating. It seems sort of overwhelming to me because I'm like, wow, that's just a lot of work. Lisa, do you have a team at least that can help you?
So I have a team. I have an awesome team. There's three
Good.
of us. So Allison Rosser, who was a consultant at Accenture when we went into King County. So we enlisted the help of Accenture when we went into King County. And I am just so blessed to have Allison now directly on the team.
Nice.
And Annalise Catherine, who we got from IACP, which is awesome, is also on the team. We've got, like we've got my colleague Melissa Murdoch, who helps with all the external comms and like on
Right.
the, we've got a separate massive project stuff underway with respect to the gift cards, right? So
Mhm.
that's all VCI. Gift card fraud, we've got weekly calls with across 4 work streams and leading practices and intel and data sharing and state public policy. And so, there are other RILA team members who help primarily with the gift card effort, as well as a couple of consultants. But it's a lot of work, a lot of
Yeah,
work.
it sounds like it. Yeah, gift cards alone, I mean, that's a monster. And
Yeah,
kudos to
look,
you guys for taking that on.
we're putting together our second annual gift card fraud prevention alliance workshop. That's a mouthful.
Hmm.
Um, so last year's kickoff of the inaugural event was like from 1 to 4. There's so much land to cover.
Hmm.
This year's in-person event is 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we've learned so much over the last year around the evolving threat of gift card fraud, scams, tampering, tap to pay, all of that sort of thing. So we're hosting the second annual gift card fraud workshop in conjunction with our retail AP conference. So it's that Sunday
Oh, great.
in
Good.
April in Phoenix.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, by the way. Hopefully, I'm going to see you there, right?
I'll be leading the workshop on Sunday, and then we'll have
Awesome.
some gift card sessions. We're hoping to bring in a couple of attorneys generals on the main stage to talk about gift card fraud and what their offices are doing, et
Great.
cetera.
Awesome. So you and I were chatting, before we hopped on camera here about the fact that it is 25 years of the magazine this year. And this happens to coincide with kind of your career in LP or in retail started 25 years ago. Lisa, anything that jumps to mind, like 25 years when you reflect back on it, things that you've seen us achieve or just anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, what stands out to me, Steph, is just sort of the maturation process that the AP industry has undergone, right? Like I remember, back in when I was in-house at the Home Depot, so much of my time was spent helping to manage the civil liability risk associated with making apprehensions, right?
Right.
And fast forward 25 years, AP organizations have matured. And I mean that in the most respectful way, right?
Mhm.
Like it's more about total retail loss,
Right.
and thinking about loss really from a more preventative intellectual perspective versus, making as many apprehensions as you can and,
Mhm.
meeting those apprehension quotas and, that sort of thing and all the liability that brings to the environment. I'm so impressed with the AP leaders that have come through the ranks, the young leaders who are out there today.
Really,
I,
really
I'm
sharp,
just
smart people out there.
oh
I've been really
so
impressed.
smart. It's just to me, it's just a more professional,
Hmm.
more like sort of intellectually focused industry. Um, and again, I mean that most respectfully. I just think, we had to evolve with
Hmm.
the environment. And I have so much respect for the AP leaders out there, given the complex environment in which retailers are operating today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, frankly, the emotional environment in which we're operating today
Mhm.
and the scary things that happen, right? I mean, 25 years ago, I don't recall that we were talking about active shooter and civil unrest and
Yeah.
looting and these are stressful emotional topics that can really have a toll on the best leaders in the
Yeah.
industry. And I'm just so impressed with how the leaders have navigated it.
Yeah, they really stand up to the challenge. It's pretty impressive, and I think and they take more and more responsibility. That's one of the things I've seen over there is we've become less of a security function and more of just all encompassing like fingers in every part of the pie in the retail landscape, which I think is it's great. We
Yeah,
have
I
a
mean, that's
different,
no better illustrated than what the industry did through COVID, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, you know, uh, I might be biased, but from my perspective, the AP industry played, I'm just going to go out there and say it, the most vital role to their organizations, to their stores,
yeah,
in enabling those stores to continue to operate while at the same time keeping people safe. Like without AP, I think it would have been a different outcome for a lot of
yeah,
retailers.
100% agree with that. So we're coming up at the end of our time, and I'm gonna throw one last question at you, and just
Yeah.
take it in a different direction. So I would like you to give a tip to an AP person. Let's like give a 101 tip to an AP person who is going to make their first appearance in court. What advice could you give somebody in AP who's never been in court before?
Does it have to be just one?
No, you can give several. Of
Okay.
course, Lisa.
Okay. So the number one thing I would say is include all of the facts around the event in your original case report.
Huge.
Every detail,
Yep.
every detail. Because here's the thing, once you sit down in that witness stand and you say something that's not in your report, the criminal defense attorney is going to seize the opportunity
Mhm.
to um, question your credibility.
Yep.
So you're allowed to use your report to refresh your recollection while you're sitting on the stand. If you don't have the details in there, you're not going to be able to refresh your recollection. And if it's not there, it didn't happen.
Right.
So start with your report. Second, be prepared for your testimony.
Mhm.
And what that also means is ask the prosecutor to do a mock testimony drill with you. No prosecutor will ever say no to that. And
Yeah.
then I'm going to give two more.
Okay.
Always tell the truth. Don't embellish. No
Yeah.
case, no shoplifter, no booster, no RC gang is worth you exaggerating or even worse, lying on the stand.
Yeah.
Number
Absolutely.
4, look at the jury when you respond to questions. Don't look at the prosecutor. Don't look at the defense attorney. Look at your jury, connect with your jury, let them see you're human and
Mhm.
you're credible, and you'll be fine.
Nice. Yeah, my experience on the stand was in Chicago, and that prosecuting attorney never had time for anything. Literally
Really?
didn't even read the case before I sat down. But that was back in the day. Hopefully things are better now.
I think things are better now. And what I would say is if anybody faces that with a prosecutor, don't hesitate to reach out and we'll go to NDAA and we'll get it addressed.
Love it. I love it. Well, Lisa, you sound like you're having fun in your new role. You sound passionate. I love it. Any parting thoughts for the retailers listening?
Uh, look, I never would have thought I would have been sitting here doing this job, right? And it's sort of like this is more for the young AP practitioners. What I always tell my daughter is, don't think you have to have it all figured out where your career is going, because guess what? Life happens and life changes the trajectory. So I would say, just keep your eye on the ball, and things will come together.
Awesome. Well, it was great chatting with you, Lisa. This is a really fun conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again
You as
soon.
well.
Uh,
Thanks, Steph. I appreciate the opportunity.
Great. All right.
You're
Have a
awesome.
great one. Thanks.
Thanks.